Well, I was like, oh, this is meant to piss everybody off.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That is Eric over there.
Hello.
And that is Vanessa over there.
Hello.
And I am Kelly. Gang, it is so nice to see you all in person.
Yes.
Me too.
Glad you're feeling better, and
Yeah.
or hope you're feeling better, I guess.
Yes, I am feeling better, actually. I'm glad we talked about this before I showed up. Yes, no, I'm feeling good.
Hey, I was just reading something, and I don't know if you guys have read this, that the guy who runs AMC Theaters is calling out the studios for their short release windows in theaters.
Oh.
And I did not
Oh.
realize this was a studio-decided thing, even. And so he's saying he would like them to have longer windows.
I understand that.
And the reason that they are not is because the studio gets 50% of the profits when it is in the movie theater, and they split that with then the theater chain, right? Mm-hmm. When it goes to video on demand rentals and stuff, they get 80% of the profits.
Oh.
So a lot of this stuff we're even seeing about box office is bullshit because they make up so much of that on their video rentals.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that makes it really hard to tell if movies are profitable.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Huh.
an example of that going way back for the 2 or 3 people we have that listen to us that are under 35. The video release used to be a really big deal for that. And when I was working at Suncoast, we didn't rent, we sold. So when Dances with Wolves came out, it was a $100 movie.
Right.
Oh, God.
And that was
yeah.
true for almost all movies. Sell through to direct to a low price is very rare. So you'd have it in the theater for as long as the theater could hold on to it, which could be up to, I mean, at that time, up to years, sometimes like in the 70s and 80s especially. And then for a while, it was a video rental block, which was usually a minimum of 6 months. So 6 months to a year, buying that movie would cost you $100 on VHS. And then at some point, then DVD came out, and the studio said, we're not doing rentals on DVDs. We're going straight to sell-through. And that's the only way you can get it. So sorry, Blockbuster. You don't get your little window of opportunity. And from there, you know, they just keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And I think obviously the lockdown had a severe impact on that. And then studios probably went, oh, wow. You know what? We still made a crap ton of money releasing it on Max or whatever during that time when we didn't have a theatrical release. So
Would you like to take a guess at what the average length of stay in a theater is for a big movie last year?
God, I'd be surprised if it's over 30 days.
I was going to say 30 days.
32 days is the
32.
average.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Companion, 18 days before it went to video on demand.
Oh, man.
And Deadpool and Wolverine, 67 days, which
Wow.
is the highest number.
So once it goes on VOD, does that mean they're pulling it from chains, or just means people are less likely to go and see them at chains?
Well, like for Companion, it was only in the theater for 18 days.
That's crazy. Well, I'm glad I saw it. Jeez. Holy hell.
So just interesting stuff there as we're seeing the world change, the industry change.
And it's got to be really frustrating, too, because I'm noticing, of course, each year right before the Oscars, the theaters are flooded with all these movies.
Hey, come
again.
see this stuff.
Yeah, come and see all these films that we're about to talk about in the awards season. And it's got to be so frustrating to be like, I wanted to program you before, and I only got, however many days out of it. And now I have to figure out how to fit you into a 2-week slot randomly before, the Oscar season.
Well, that makes like that Terrifier 2 specifically really impressive because they pushed almost 2 months of indie thing, just saying, nope, we're going to keep it in theater and keep it in theater.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of cachet to that as an independent filmmaker
Right.
that Universal doesn't care about.
Yeah.
But I noticed Terrifier 3 did not do that. It came
Oh.
out and it had a regular site, whatever the window was. It was definitely not, oh, we're holding it over for another 2 weeks. I don't remember that happening at all for 3. So they probably, okay, this happened. Now we're going to go a different distribution model that's going to generate more income for us.
Right.
So, I don't
Yeah.
know.
That one's a weird one
Oh,
too,
yeah.
because it costs so little
Yeah.
to make, and then however long it was in the theaters had to pay for everything that it cost and
Oh, yeah.
more. So they were able to kind of turn that into a stunt
Yeah.
stay or something
And
like
make
that.
money. So,
Yeah. So I don't know, just interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm still going to theaters, so I don't know.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I saw some movies, guys.
Good.
One that you're both going to want to see, especially you, Vanessa. I
Oh.
saw George A. Romero's Resident Evil.
What is this?
This is a documentary
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yes. All right.
about the fact that George Romero was making a movie based on the video game,
What?
and it all fell apart. I remember when this was
Yeah.
happening.
Oh, yeah.
And it's super interesting because it starts out with the creation of the game, the documentary does, and talks all about that. And they talk about how the game was so influenced by Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
And so by Resident Evil 2, that's when they started talking about a movie, and Romero got involved. And apparently his script was full of all the stuff from the first 2 games.
Oh,
Wow.
And they were all very excited about it and all this, but then, a few things change, and all of a sudden it, falls apart and goes to, who was that? Paul W.S. Anderson
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
that and completely changed
Changes.
it. Yeah.
It sounds sort of like a slightly different, but a version of Jodorowsky's Dune
Yeah.
documentary.
Yeah. Not nearly as in depth as that,
Yeah.
but it is still very, very interesting. And I just think, Vanessa, you will get a kick out of watching all of these 8-bit graphics that were what they were originally basing the game on. And then all of a sudden PlayStation and all of this. And I was watching this going, oh yeah, I had a PlayStation and that was one of my favorite games to play. And I'm looking at the graphics on this now going, oh my God, I remember, playing this in the dark and being freaked out.
Yeah.
And it looks so awful.
It's like Doom was that for me, that same kind of period. And you go back, oh, really? That was a creepy game?
100%.
Isn't your husband like a massive Resident Evil fan?
He is, yeah.
Yeah,
He's a huge Resident Evil
you
fan.
go.
But I mean, he bought the box set with the umbrella on it and whatever, and we're making our way through. God, they're all blending together for me. But
Oh, I know
mean,
that feeling.
as somebody who works in games, like I find that super interesting
Yeah.
because to like you always want to see there's a possibility of Carpenter doing Dead Space, and you're like, because he loves the game, and I'm
Right.
like, oh my God, just let him do it, even if it's awful, let him do it.
Yes.
There are these moments where the two worlds intersect, and it's just such an easy place to do that in. So I don't know, that sounds really fascinating to me. So I'd love to check that out.
Yeah, it is a rental, but it's a cheap rental. It's like $2.99, and it really, really worth your time. Really interesting stuff. It is called George A. Romero's Resident Evil.
All right, I'm writing it down right now. Well, I checked out a movie that I think Eric had talked about last week, which was The Monkey.
I did.
Yeah. It's so fucking good.
Really?
Like, yeah, okay. That's a comedy I can get behind. I don't know why.
Which is weird because it's fairly slapsticky.
It is. So I don't know what it is that I don't like about comedy that like I hate in most, especially horror comedy. Fuck, I hate so much horror comedy. Sorry. It's so bad. But maybe it's just intention. Like this was just really like a lovely film, like about bad things happening to people. And I heard an interview with the filmmaker, which was really cool, where he was saying, when I was growing up, all these horrible things were happening. I think he lost a lot of people in his life through like insane tragedies. And he was like, you think that it's just you. And then as you get older, you realize that it happens to everybody. And he was like, that's kind of where the heart of this movie came from.
Wow.
And I was like, that's so incredible because you can see that all over it. It's not just about people just imploding in crazy ways, which is pretty funny. Like they don't suffer. A lot of them don't suffer. They don't have time. A couple, the aunt suffers quite badly.
But it's also one of the funnier segments, I think, in the whole thing.
I liked the swimmer. I thought that was the best.
That was
She didn't even have time.
Yeah, that
It's
was no
just
suffering there.
But yeah, there was just there's a couple of like loosey, weird little strands in there where you think something's gonna go somewhere and then they just lose it. But for the most part, just a really strong film. I love the talent in it. The guy who's the lead in there. I have not seen him in stuff, but he's so good that we started watching The Gentleman now just to like watch something he's in. He's great.
Oh, yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
Man, I've
That's
still
cool.
not seen this, but I really want to.
Yeah.
You should.
Sounds like it jumped the line real well for you. Where it sat on that weird line for me of, well, it's kind of, is this really supposed to be? But, I also saw it at 10 a.m. with 3 other people. So,
I did see it at like 10 p.m. with probably 3 other people. But still.
Shocker, I'm on a bunch of Stephen King pages on Facebook, and this movie has divided the fans.
I would think
Crazy.
so.
Some of them absolutely love it, and some of them really fucking hate it.
Do
I would
fans
think
care
so.
about what Stephen King thinks? Because like Stephen King's really loves this. So I don't.
Do you want to say the opinion of Stephen King for movies?
I'd say that they don't put a lot of faith into him saying something nice about adaptations.
I
Because
mean, I was curious because like it is wild, like the where he decides how he feels about different adaptations of his stuff.
I
So.
think that when they know he's going to be interviewed because he's a fucking rock star.
Yeah.
And so they probably give him a little extra money and a contract that says you can't badmouth the movie while it's in the theaters.
Oh, sure.
So you can tell when he says, these kind of roundabout compliments for like The Dark Tower. He's like,
God.
it's not what I wrote, but they got to the same ending, and stuff like that. And I'm like, whoa, okay, this is
Dance
not a good
there.
review.
There's also a period for a few years, largely in the video boom, where I love this movie. This is the best horror film ever created. And with some exceptions, like his love of the Evil Dead, it usually meant this movie's probably not going to be that good.
Yeah, he just you see his write-ups on a lot of stuff too, like books and things.
Well, yeah,
where
of
it's like,
course. If you could get Stephen King to say, well, frankly, anything about your book,
yeah,
even if he said this book sucks, Stephen King,
Yeah,
I'm putting that out there.
absolutely. The other thing is that if you look at like Maximum Overdrive or Creepshow, 2 films he had a big, strong hand in, he likes silly horror.
Yeah.
He likes, over the top Tales from the Crypt kind of stuff. And so that's his taste in movies. So if it's over the top and silly, I think that he loves that kind of shit.
Yeah, so he probably honestly likes this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
Oh, all right.
Well, you should check it out.
I need to, yeah.
As you know, moving in with my 83-year-old father-in-law has altered my watching of television severely. But one of the really, really great things to come out of this is this series called Vera, which is British, the BBC show. I know they're not called series or seasons over there. They're like reversed, but whatever it is, it's got like 15 seasons, and each season is only like 4 or 5 episodes because they're 90-minute episodes.
Right.
And it stars Brenda Blythen, who's won an Oscar before. She was in Pride and Prejudice and Secret Lies. And holy shit, she is phenomenal. She does these expressions and these cute little noises when she's like, to react to things. And it's just pitch perfect. And all the episodes are well done. Some of them are phenomenal. One of them, 2 or 3 episodes back, we're somewhere in like 9th or 10th season. I'm like, who the fuck directed this one? Because gorgeous shot after gorgeous shot. And they do, the police procedural thing where they're all in the the room and they've got their board and they talk about that. And he came up with this fascinating looking shot for it, which used the lights, the hanging lights from the ceiling to frame it in like a V way. And so I was like, who thinks of that? Who is this guy? And all I could find is just he does a lot of BBC TV. So occasionally there's a nice budget in this show because sometimes it looks at least mid-level theatrical all the time. And depending on who's either written the episode or directing the episode, it goes above. She's always great. She is never a sour note. There's one season, almost nothing bad happens to the cops. They seem to change a lot of actors, but one season, one of them got shot. And her facial reaction to her officer dying was just devastating. I'm just like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's a fantastic show. Apparently it's in its last season. It's still going, but this is its last year. But
does that mean that it has been on for 15 years?
More or less. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's long for a BBC show.
Yeah, especially
Doctor
with
Who
90
and
minutes
this.
an
I know, I was
episode.
going to say, except for Doctor Who. which
Well,
is
okay,
just
yeah, there's
forever.
that.
Yeah, well, Vera, I assume it's based off of the same material that the film was. There was like
I'm not familiar with the film.
Okay, there's a film that was, I believe, British that came out years ago, and my original editing mentor cut it. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so it was kind of one of those cool projects that was out there. Yeah, I wonder if it's based on the same idea or the same
I don't see anything
person.
here in the listing referencing the book, but that doesn't mean anything.
Okay. Cool.
And sometimes like the one we watched last night, just unbelievably depressing. The storyline by the resolution, and it's nice because you watch American procedurals and the end of Act 1, beginning of Act 2, you pretty much know who it's going to be, and they do a great weird little trick thing where whenever they talk to somebody, and if it goes like, I'm not sure where they always do a long shot of the person standing there watching, looking like suspicious or interested or just something to make you remember that person as opposed to a Law and Order or whatever. There's it's going to be this guy.
Yeah.
It's like, this guy who shows up kind of says something and then disappears. You never see him again. That's the person it's going to be.
Yeah.
But that does not happen in this show.
Wow.
So if you like mystery shows at all, Vera, I think it's just on BritBox. It's the British one, but well worth it. Take the 2-week free whatever and watch a shitload of really good mystery shows.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I miss the most about living in the UK is they had such quality television, and then you come over here and you don't hear anything about it. And I'm like, I know there's so much cool stuff that's just existed that I have no concept of.
Except for the sci-fi and horror stuff makes it over here. The genre stuff will make it over, but a lot of the general.
But even things like
doesn't.
ghosts and what was the show with the it was a werewolf, a ghost, and a
We watched
vampire.
that one.
Being human.
Being human. That took a long time to get here. And then when it did, we immediately adopted it. But I'd seen that ages before it showed up here. So I don't know. It's
Yeah. Well, get BritBox.
Nostalgia.
It'll be re-plugged in.
I just canceled so many subscriptions. I'm going through my taxes and I'm like, oh my God. Why am I paying for all this bullshit?
Yes.
Yeah. If I could cancel Hulu, I would do it. And I fucking hate that it's so linked into Disney now. The assholes.
I figure we're about 5 years away from having Comcast level. Paramount's buying this company and Disney's buying, what is it? ESPN, Hulu, CB, or not CBS, ABC, whoever.
ABC is part of it.
Disney's.
Yeah. We're getting there.
Man, Being Human. I kind of want to do a full rewatch of
great
that.
show.
I know. It was
I really
good.
like that
Did you
one.
watch was it the American one or the British one that you watched?
I watched the British one because I had watched the American one,
same here.
but I have to admit I like the American one better.
I think I need to watch the American one because the British one ends in such a weird way that it was
Yeah.
a real bummer to me. So
The U.S. one was a lot more fun. The characters were a lot. It was a lot more fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The British one was oddly serious.
Yeah, it was very serious. Yeah, there was a lot of like depressing moments,
Yeah.
and I remember it being a real bummer.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, well then also, you guys, you got to be on top of this. I don't know if Marth likes this. The new season of Reacher.
I have been on top. I haven't been watching
I
it.
haven't
Yeah.
watched it yet, but I am planting seeds. So I think, I mean, I don't care if we got to go back and watch the first 2 seasons.
You
That's
probably
fine
will
with
need
that.
to. Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure we can get him to watch that one.
Yeah.
But the Vera thing's kind of, but God, I think we got like less than a couple weeks left worth of episodes. So
Okay. Well, it's great. You know, I didn't love season 2 of Reacher.
yeah, it was all right.
And this one is already, you know, 4 episodes in, much better, it feels
Nice.
like to me.
I don't love it.
No?
No.
Okay.
I read the book the second one was based on, and I know why the second season wasn't as good because that book wasn't
Oh, that's
as
interesting.
strong.
Oh, huh. Yeah.
But I don't know if they're continuing, so I don't know what book this one's based on.
It actually says what book it is, and I can't remember now.
Okay.
And I've never read any of the books, so I can't tell you if they're close or not. But I just like him.
Yeah.
You know, he's just this huge fucking dude who can do anything, mostly because of his size.
Yeah.
And they finally found somebody bigger to
I
pitch
saw
him
that in
against.
the trailer, so it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, and the FBI agent that he is working with, it has taken me a long time to warm up to her, but
Yeah.
I'm starting.
Same.
And I like it. What don't you like about it?
I don't like the FBI agent. But I think
okay.
her accent is a big.
What is their accent?
It's like almost
Or
like
what's
a,
it supposed to be?
It's
like a New Jersey or like
no,
a
I think it's supposed to be Maine.
Maine. Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
but she falls in and out of it. So I'm like, might have been a good idea to just not have this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really irritating. My first comment was like, please don't make me watch them have sex.
Oh, they're
I
gonna have
can't-
sex.
I know, but it's so awful
And
to
she's gonna
think
be
about.
like, "Oh, Rachel, I love it."
I'm
Reach
gonna like
around.
close my eyes and ears for that whole thing because I was like, oh fuck, man, I can't. Like, she's not an unattractive woman, but every time she opens her mouth, I'm like, oh, stop, please.
The thing is, she's not a gorgeous woman either. She's not
gorgeous,
she's
no.
not what you would expect for his leading lady.
Season 2, you're like, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. No, and I think between that and we're sort of stuck in this location that I'm not psyched about. Like some of the characters I feel like are a little, I don't know, it's just not hitting some notes for me. I do like the relationship between him and the son.
Yeah.
I think that whole story with just the kid specifically is really cool. But like the dad and like the guy who is the main guy, I'm like, what
The
is?
main guy.
Did you just see the one with the barn? The most recent
Oh,
episode.
no, I think that just came out, right?
Yeah.
I have not
Okay.
seen that one.
Yeah, it's hard for me to marry together the like this guy is a psychopath, crazy, horrible dude, and you're like, I don't know, he's like kind of a lame Asian man who I don't think I'd want to talk to at a party, but I don't know that I'd be like concerned about like the safety of anyone within like a 1 mile radius of him. Like I don't buy this guy, so yeah.
I think I'm more with you on it. I really don't. As long as that guy, Alan, is,
Alan Richardson. or
yeah,
something.
is playing that character.
No, Reacher is
Whatever
incredible.
he runs into,
Yeah.
okay.
No, I mean, there's a reason why I'm still watching it. Like,
Yeah.
he's fucking awesome. No matter what situation you put him in, he's great. So
There is some shockingly bad acting so far in this, mostly from the FBI agent.
yeah.
Her reaction sometime,
Oh?
I'll be like, yeah,
Way
and I'll
over
be
the
like,
top,
was she
yeah.
directed to do that, or did they finally just go, she's not going to do any better than that?
Well, and like her assistant kid guy isn't very good either.
No.
He's all big reactions too.
Yeah.
And I think
Sounds
some
like
of the
director
mob
then.
guys are like that. So yeah, some of the mob guys, I was like, ugh, I
Yeah,
fucking want to spend any more time.
sounds like
with
I
you.
don't like it, but I do like it. Also, Anthony Michael Hall as
is he?
as the bad guy,
Oh, all right.
as the dad. Did you
I did
recognize him?
not put that together.
Always nice to see Anthony Michael Hall still getting work.
So weird. Oh, now I have to deal
Have you
with
not
that.
seen his villain takes before? He's played a villain a few times.
Yeah.
No, I have not.
Yeah, he does all right with it.
Crazy.
Anyhow, Reacher, it's on Prime.
Cool.
And I saw a movie that we had talked about ages ago. Finally got around to watching Strange Darling.
Oh, good.
Which,
Oh, yeah?
I'm so glad I finally saw it because it was on everybody's lists for last year and, has been so hyped. Yeah, it was definitely not what I expected it to be. There were things I really loved about it. Like, I think the editing is amazing.
Yeah, boy, that's true.
I love the way the story unfolds. I really, really dig that. The core of what the story is, I think I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah, that's kind of me too.
Yeah, like I was sort of, once you know, you're like, all right. And I had that moment where I was like, is this going to be a twist? And I was like, oh, okay, that's what the twist is. And now I have to spend time with you. But the overall, very strong movie. Very strong movie. I thought it was going to be more like, what was that one with the girl who goes to the guy's place and he kidnaps her and he's chopping up these girls for their body parts and selling their meat.
Oh, wow. That does not ring a bell.
Oh, she's also on like a bad date and they started dating.
Right.
Run, Sweetheart, or something like
the-
that? Was that one?
The
like,
real rich kind of takes her out in the woods. And I like that one.
and he
a
has a
lot
bunch of
more.
art on his wall.
I
Yeah.
did enjoy that film.
Like I thought it was going to be more in that vein, but I don't know. It's a very different version.
Well, what I'd said before, the reason it kind of hit me weird is and this is just watching festival films, that storyline, that idea has been done. I get 2 or 3 a year, every year, where that twist is the storyline.
Yeah.
So it's like 5-10 minutes into the movie going, I hope this isn't going to be up. That's exactly what I think it is. But I still enjoyed because the performers were so good and what they were doing was so much fun to watch.
Again,
It was
like the way it
still good.
unfolded really helps like any kind of frustration with that. Like I feel like it really was neat to see like, okay, I like how they're manipulating the story to be told in one way and then another. There was a lot of neat things going on in there.
Definitely well worth seeing.
Yeah.
Strange Darling. Is that just streaming now?
I think I rented it.
I think it's still a
Yeah, I
rental.
think it's still like a $2-3,
Yeah, I don't think anybody's
low-level rental.
got it. I'm sure Shudder will eventually pick it up, but at this
It
point.
seems like a Shudder film.
Yeah.
So way off genre. I watched a film called Free Solo, which I've wanted to watch for a really long time, but just never have, which is a story of a guy, Alan Honnold, who wants to climb El Capitan in Yosemite with no ropes. Holy shit, this movie is awesome.
Yeah.
It's so intense and it's so wild. He is such a weird guy. He's a really interesting, strange, but kind of likable in his goofiness. And his girlfriend helps because she's just funny and interesting on screen. And the group, the people around him. And there's the part, I'm glad they went there because I'm watching this going, how the hell do you shoot this?
Right.
And they covered the camera guys a little while and them talking about what the fuck, what if we we're shooting and he falls. And it's just like, and they built the tension so well. I mean, it's a movie, he succeeds. So it's sort of like that movie years ago with the guy walking across the high tower in the Twin Towers.
Still.
It's like, and it's so well done. And so thoroughly enjoyed this. This was on your favorite, Hulu. But if it's not just a sports movie, it's that conquering concept of doing something no one's ever done before. And I mean, I've done enough climbing that I get the idea, but my version of the rock climbing he's done was probably like 4 or 5 bodies high, where I'm walking up the side of it. His is thousands and thousands of feet. It's just like, oh man, it was so cool. So highly recommend it.
Did they like strap a bunch of GoPros on this guy, or like how
Nothing.
did they
No.
get?
It's all he
footage?
has 3 or 4 camera guys, and it looked like they went through in key spots. It looks like you've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay. It looks like they went in key spots and just knocked in a camera
Right.
to
Okay.
just get a general shot. But they had at least 3 camera guys, I
Yeah.
think, that were
Wow.
following him around. And
Yeah, because I imagine every time you see something like, thought it was funny with Amazing Race. You're like, okay, yeah, you're running and whatever, but there's a guy next to you with all that camera gear running right next. Like, I'm sorry, anything you think you're doing cool right now is nowhere near as good as what that guy's doing.
that's right.
I hated this movie.
Did you?
Because as I've gotten older, I always had kind of a slight fear of heights.
Oh, jeez.
And as I've gotten older, I've got a huge fear of heights
Yeah,
now.
that's what's
And
happening to me too.
it's such a difference. Like I can go up to the Space Needle and stand on the glass floor, no problem. But there's that idea of being, on the edge of a cliff
Yeah.
with nothing to hold on to that
Yes.
really terrifies me now.
Yeah.
And so watching that just it amped my anxiety up so much.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
a really good movie, but I was just like, I will never watch this again. And then you went and talked about a movie.
Oh, the one
2
with
girls.
the women on
Yeah.
the.
Yeah, and I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, "Fuck this! No,
Yeah.
this movie will destroy me."
Yeah,
I've
that's
done
how I feel.
I've managed to do the same thing to myself with claustrophobia. Where watching so many films, starting with The Descent, and then these films where people get in, and I've never felt claustrophobic, but now
That's your thing
feel
now.
that like when they go in the I've seen a few places use it for just investigation stuff, but those the Vietnam underground tunnel things where they
yeah,
drop into these little holes about that big.
Oh my God.
It's like, oh to God. So yeah, but for some reason, height, and maybe it is my teenage years of climbing, adrenalizes me. I find it really, really interesting. So
It makes me feel sick
Yeah.
immediately. Yeah.
it's one of the biggest. I mean, heights is one of the top phobias.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, it's definitely real. I went to Grand Canyon 2 years ago.
Oh wow.
And it's one of those things where it's like, yes, it's majestic and it's one of the great wonders of the world. I literally was and like you are there. You can just tumble.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
nothing stopping you from just dying all the time. And so at one point I just turned around and looked at like the little grass patch next to the parking, and there were some squirrels, and I was this is cool. I'm
Watch
just
the
going to look at
squirrels.
this. Watch the squirrels go up and down the tree.
Well, I also-
much better.
I also grew up next to Snake River Canyon, which I guess is like one of the top 5 base jumping areas in the world now.
Whoa.
I mean, you cannot go by there on a decent weather day and not see 4 or 5 people packing their things, some guy walking out, and people all the time.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I grew up with that right
I think
there too.
and
Of course, they didn't do that when I was there.
it's funny too, because like I don't have any problem at all with water. Like that's having grown up on an island.
No, yeah.
I'm like, if I fall off a ferry boat, I'll probably be okay. It's really the cold that's going to get you, or and even like large bodies of water and stuff.
Yeah,
It
no,
doesn't
see.
really wake me out. Or being in a lake, like because that was what I did every day of summer for my whole childhood
Yeah,
through
same.
18. So it that kind of stuff doesn't. So I think you're right. I think there's something about exposure and just normalizing
Yeah.
something that like with heights, like that has never been. But as a kid, yeah, it was no big deal. I used to climb up like the little see-through wire stairs to, the top of cathedrals and up,
Nice.
little mountainy things, and it was fine. So I don't know. Anyway, that was a tangent.
Yeah, that was a
Today,
tangent.
on a very
That's
special Strange Eons radio.
what we're known for.
Your
How about
fears.
we take a little break? I can calm down a bit. And then when we come back, we are talking about animation of some kind.
Yeah. Best topic ever.
Now that you have acquired the power I
my son, you must swear to me by the sacred sword of Jovan that you will use the power only for good, never for evil. Jovan sex appeal aftershave alone. Remember, never for evil.
We have returned. Vanessa, I still don't quite understand this topic.
I don't know how you don't understand this topic.
Explain it to me and everybody.
All right. So, animated films, any form of animation that includes stop motion, claymation, whatever, animated movies. Plus, if there's no animated films out there on planet Earth that you guys want to watch, which sometimes there's not, because you fight me on animation every time, then it can even be a small segment of a normal live action movie. A live action movie like Better Off Dead that has stop motion elements in it. That would be okay. That would be acceptable. Is this making any sense?
I will push back a little in my thinking
Yeah.
in the interpretation, because this was all text-based stuff. I thought you meant a live-action movie that had some form of animation in it,
Oh my God.
not a full. Communicate. It wasn't just Kelly. I was like, okay, I'm just going to do one that's got animation in it, which is what I ended up doing.
Because you guys were doing that. And I was like, no, I'm trying to make this easier. And Kelly's like, how is this easier? And I was like, I don't know how it's harder at all. This is pretty much every movie on Earth to an extent. I mean, it'd be nice not to just do
No, you said we
CGI.
couldn't do. You said we couldn't do opening credits.
Right.
Yeah,
I was
okay. Opening credit, because come on.
I agree.
There's enough out there. Jeez Louise.
Making me miss the days of fog as a topic. Vanessa, why don't you start us off? I'm giving you 5 minutes.
That's a great topic. All right. So I went with a movie from 2001, Millennium Actress.
This fall, experience one of the most highly anticipated anime films. Millennium Actress. From the director of Perfect Blue, Satoshi Kon, comes the story of a legendary actress, the mystery of her past, and the search for the key that will unlock a lifelong secret. Winner Best Animation Film. And won the grand prize for animation with Academy Award winner Spirited Away. Loved by critics around the world. Millennium Actress.
So this is one of those animes that's kind of been on my list of to watch forever. It's by the same person who did Perfect Blue.
Oh, wow.
So written and directed by Satoshi Kon, who, well, actually only has 13 writing credits and 10 directing credits to his name, but it includes Paprika, Perfect Blue, Paranoia Agent Series, Tokyo Godfathers. So some pretty heavy hitters. Starring a bunch of Japanese people who no one will know about. So there you go. The story follows Chiyoko Fujiwara, a renowned former actress and star for the studio Genie, has become a reclusive figure disappearing from film at the height of her career. While the studio is being reconstructed and basically demolished, a documentarian named Genya Tachibana requests an interview with her. In exchange, he brings her a key he found, and she accepts him and his cameraman, who go to her home to basically talk to her about her life. So this is an older lady who is basically talking about her career. He asks about the key and what it opens, and she says it opens the most important thing, and then begins to tell the story of the key and her whole film career. She was born in 1923 during an earthquake, which took her father's life. And then when she was at school, she was discovered but not allowed to act because her mom wanted her to help at the sweet shop. However, during the country's internal turmoil, she meets by accident a political dissident painter who's being pursued by the police. She helps him and hides him in their family shed, and he has the key. She tries to guess what it opens, but she can't figure it out, and she begs him not to tell her because she wants to find out herself. The next day, the police have found him again and try to catch him at a train station where he escapes. She finds the key on the ground and rushes it towards him, but of course misses the train. From that point forward, the stories of her film career and her life are intertwined. What you see as films that she starred in becomes moments from her life and vice versa. It goes from moment to moment, showcasing all kinds of different periods of Japanese film as well. So sometimes she's dressed in different Japanese eras of garb, and from super historical samurai pictures to more modern day films, and it ends on a science fiction film. So as it goes through, even the documentarian begins to show up in the films because maybe perhaps at one point he intersected with her life in an important way. Initially, this movie feels a lot like Muppet Christmas Carol because
Holy shit.
you're watching.
You could have given me a lot of guesses and that would never have been one of them.
You're like watching her in these films and talking about her life, and then the crew is just there with the guy with walking around following her down the street, and the other guy with like the camera, following her, and you're just like, it feels like the Mouse and Gonzo in Muppet Christmas Carol.
Rizzo.
It's interesting. I thought that this film, it doesn't actually have a crazy ton of plot. Basically, she's trying to figure out this guy with the key. She wants to follow him and find him, and she basically falls in love with him, but she can't. She can never get a hold of this guy, and her entire life moves along through that motion. But it's super fast. It's gorgeous. It's crazy. It's frenetic. I hate the final line of the movie because it feels very deep for 2001, but it's stupid. So I will say maybe just if that one piece wasn't there, it'd be a lot better. Just a little bit of trivia. The character of Chiyoko herself is somewhat reminiscent of Setsuko Hara, a famed Japanese movie star from the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, who likewise withdrew suddenly from public life. Satoshi Kon has recognized this influence in an interview, also citing Hideko Takamine, who insisted that Chiyoko is primarily a universal human character, despite having at least two people references. Various photographic effects of aging are used in order to make Chiyoko's film seem old. They were filmed separately and passed through different labs and telecine processes from the rest of the film. No CG effects were used. So every time it looks like a different era, it's because they're using a different film process. A visual nod is made to the films of Yasuhiro Ozu, I'll finish this up, in a scene where the protagonist is talking with her mother, which is framed in the director's iconic style. Commercially, the film performed modestly in the U.S., earning $37,285 during its 3-week release. The film was shown almost exclusively in New York and L.A. and received minimal advertising campaign from Go Fish Pictures, but it did really well in Japan. It received a grand prize at the Japan Agency of Cultural Affairs Media Arts Festival, tying with Spirited Away. It won awards for Best Animated Film at the Fantasia 2001 Film Festival and featured in the 8th Animation Kyobi Awards. They wanted to use it for the Oscars that year, but they ultimately weren't able to. So anyways, that's that movie. Fully animated. Weird.
Oscars tonight, too.
Oh, God.
I am always surprised that the Japanese animation movies, for some reason, I thought they were all horror, fantasy, sci-fi stuff. And so you've come with a couple of these that were like straight dramas and stuff like that. I'm like, this is so interesting that they were able to get past the cartoons are for kids.
Oh yeah. And I think relatively quickly too. I think that idea of what art is so impactful and meaningful in Japanese culture that it's not just like, oh, well, it's drawn, so therefore it's for kiddies. It's more like it's art and it can tell any kind of story through any way it wants because it has limitless possibilities.
Yeah. Interesting the one too, because I've seen not a lot of anime, but two of this directors, and both a bit like Paprika, Sif, and then I talked about Perfect Blue on one of our episodes. Yeah. Both fantastic. So I definitely want to check this one out.
Absolutely. I would highly recommend his work. And I Tokyo Godfathers is also on my list. It's more of a Christmas movie, so I might wait for around Christmas time. But just incredible, weird, interesting, fast-paced stuff.
As an aside, I'm thinking of putting a little bowl here, and when we go over the 5 minutes, we each have to drop $1 in, and then at the end, I take that money and I go drink with it.
This isn't going to help your...
Trying to help my anxiety.
I know, exactly. I'm going to have to break 20s and make dollars appear.
You don't have to break 20s.
That's right, yeah.
All right.
I'll cover myself for the next 20 episodes right here, right now.
Eric, if you don't mind, I will go next.
Dive in. Enjoy.
Okay, got 5 minutes on here, and I am talking about the cinematic masterpiece, Osmosis Jones.
Oh my God, I can't believe you did this.
A deadly virus, a city at risk, two unlikely heroes, and it's all inside this man's body. This summer, we're going into a body under attack from a killer virus.
I'm contagious.
You're busted. Give it up. Oh! Why you hit so hard?
It's the action comedy that gets under your skin.
You have entered the city of Frank.
Into your stomach. And up your nose.
Just the way I like it. Extra disgusting.
Please, you're going to make me vomit.
Oh, no, not again.
Chris Rock.
You're dealing with a white blood cell here.
Molly Shannon.
What is it? I mean, what is it? What do you want?
Chris Elliott.
Smell.
And Bill Murray.
Hey, have some class, will you?
Oh my God, I've got the giggles.
Osmosis Jones.
I wonder what this does.
Dad.
I'm feeling better already.
He's coming, man.
Check it out.
2001. Directed by the Farrelly brothers.
Oh.
Who have 24 credits, including Dumb and Dumber, There's Something About Mary, Kingpin, Shallow Hal, Ricky Stenicki. Written by Mark Hyman, who has 11 credits, including The Perfect Score, Meet the Fockers, and 26 episodes of Ozzie and Drix. Starring Bill Murray. 110 credits, including Caddyshack, Stripes, Tootsie, Ghostbusters, Scrooge, Groundhog Day, The Royal Tenenbaums, Lost in Translation, and 75 episodes of Saturday Night Live. Also in this are the voices of Chris Rock, who has 88 credits, including New Jack City, Lethal Weapon 4, Dogma, and Spiral just recently.
And then a very important appearance on the Oscars.
David Hyde Pierce, who has 64 credits, including Sleepless in Seattle, Addams Family Values, and The Exorcism. Lawrence Fishburne, who has 192 credits, including the Matrix movies, Mystic River, John Wick Chapter 2, 39 episodes of Hannibal. And then Brandy Norwood, William Shatner, Ron Howard, Kid Rock, and Uncle Cracker. Have you guys seen Osmosis Jones?
Absolutely not.
We start with our live-action hero, Frank Dattara, who is a slovenly zookeeper at a zoo in Rhode Island. He is recently widowed, and much to the frustration of his 10-year-old daughter, Shane, he is a very unhealthy eater and has minimal concern for germs or disease. In fact, while trying to eat a hard-boiled egg with mayonnaise and tons of salt, it is stolen from him by a chimpanzee. He gets it back, but not before it falls into the filth of the chimp's habitat. And when Shane is disgusted by him about to eat it, he uses the 10-second rule as justification and then does, in fact, eat it.
Oh, no.
This kicks off the animated part of the movie where we are introduced to the idea of Frank as a massive city of anthropomorphized blood cells, bacteria, and all of that. We meet Osmosis Jones, who is an adventure-seeking white blood cell and an agent of the Frank Police Department. He is a rebel, frequently mocked by his fellow police officers for disobeying authority to do what he thinks is right. Jones has been relocated to the mouth to fight germs entering the body via ingestion as punishment after he induced Frank to vomit on Shane's science teacher when he jumped the gun and suspected an incoming pathological threat from a raw oyster that Frank had eaten from one of the displays. Oh, God. So Jones sees the germs from the chimp's habitat come in, and he wants to treat it very seriously. But the rest of the cops think the germs are only gingivitis, and they accidentally allow them to slip through and into Frank's system. Jones disobeys orders and goes after them. Meanwhile, Mayor Fleming is preparing for re-election as the mayor of Frank, and his campaign hinges on his promises of more junk food. His reckless policies are largely responsible for Frank's declining health, and with all of this going on, everyone else has missed the arrival of Thrax, a deadly virus that was in the hard-boiled egg. Oh. Thrax is an awesome villain, voiced by Lawrence Fishburne, and he'd be right at home in the movie Heavy Metal. He's constantly humming the song Fever, which I thought was clever. Fleming suspects what is happening with Thrax, but to cover it up, he has Frank take a cold suppressant medicine, who arrives in pill form and turns into a RoboCop kind of character named Drix, which is short for Drixenol Cold Relief. And he is assigned as Jones' partner to try and find out what's happening to Frank's body. The movie turns into a fun buddy cop film with Drix playing the straight-laced, by-the-books cop, and Jones, the wild card, who knows something more is going on in Frank's body. And this is all cut back and forth to Bill Murray interacting with other people as he gets sicker and sicker, but thinks he just has a bad cold. There is some gross-out humor, as you might expect in a movie about the way the body works, but Murray is hilarious. Of course, there is the ticking time bomb of Frank's health, but also the idea that Drix is only there for temporary relief of these symptoms, so he and Jones need to find out and stop what is happening before Frank gets too sick to be saved. You guys, I heard only bad things about this movie. It is a fucking delight. It is awesome. It is so much fun. If you could do a lot worse if you have kids than showing them a movie about how the body works and everything. I'm going to run out of time, but I've got great trivia.
Okay.
Bill Murray's character mentions a National Chicken Wing Festival in Buffalo, New York. And while the festival did not exist during the filming of the movie, this mention caused the organizers to create an annual festival in Buffalo.
Oh, my God.
And has been held annually on Labor Day since 2002.
Holy smokes.
In the original script and in early cuts of the film, a scene was featured where Osmosis and Drix go to Gonad's gym.
Oh, my God.
It involved them talking to the exercising sperm cells. The scene was cut in order to stay family friendly. The Gonad's gym logo does appear on Drix's suitcase during a scene in the police station. A statue of a sperm cell can be seen in the city square. It is labeled "Our Founder." In one scene, a poster is shown that says "Peace in the middle ear." And the backgrounds have plenty of sight gags, such as signs reading "Rectum, exit only," or "Slow, sore throat, ulcer repair," and "Danger, open nerve." According to the directors, Thrax is a souped-up version of H5N1, also known as bird flu. And finally, the Farrelly brothers wanted Harold Ramis to play Bob, the brother of Bill Murray's character, despite being fully aware they had a professional and personal falling out 8 years earlier on the set of Groundhog Day. They hoped Murray and Ramis could reconcile doing another movie together. However, Murray said he would not participate in the film if Ramis was cast.
Wow.
So they decided to offer the role to Chris Elliott. Murray and Ramis did eventually reconcile before Ramis' death in 2014, but never worked together on a movie again.
I gotta say, this sounds amazing.
It is so much fun. And I was just
So
like,
clever.
what? I have only heard bad things about it. It's actually got a decent Rotten Tomatoes rating and everything. It was just a massive flop.
Yeah.
So how was this greenlit? Like, this movie sounds insane.
I think that it might have been, I don't know, but that the writer who did 26 episodes of Ozzy and Drix, that's a spin-off of this movie.
Oh.
So it got 2 seasons on Fox kids
Oh.
and everything. It's very funny, very clever, and I loved it. So as much as I was confused by this idea of yours, I found a really great film out of it.
Well, I'm really glad. I'm glad that worked out.
I would think, okay, we got Bill Murray and the Farrelly brothers. So I think that there was a point where the Farrelly brothers could go, this is what we're making, and they would go, okay.
Eric, you might not want to watch this movie because there's a lot of shots of him eating very badly, close-ups and stuff like this. I was like, this will... I might be scared of heights, but Eric is going to pass out if he watches this. Eric, are you ready?
I am.
5 minutes, buddy.
All righty. I was originally kind of thinking I was going to talk about Natural Born Killers. And I thought, fuck, I don't want to talk about that fucking movie. Especially after I watched Scala, or The Incredibly Strange Rise and Fall of the World's Wildest Cinema and How It Influenced a Mix-Up Generation of Weirdos and Misfits.
The screen's stained with beer, the whole place shakes when the tubes run. Sound system's crap, but we love it. Mark Moore at the Scala.
The Scala had magic.
Let's set up a cinema in the old abandoned embassy from before times.
It was like joining a club.
People would talk more and more about the Scala. You should go to the Scala. It's really going on there.
A very secret club, like a biker gang or something.
I thought the Scala was a kind of wonderworld.
It's like they were a country club for criminals and lunatics and people that were high.
You don't, get high on acid and start doing this.
Oh, yes. We've shown Mondo Trasher and Hairspray.
They found the auteur version of sexploitation.
And having felt myself to be a radical feminist, it felt most peculiar.
The Scala were kind of outsiders and freaks belonged and felt welcome.
And it blew my mind.
Which is a good way to see movies.
You didn't go there just in case you might trip over somebody having a shag on the carpet.
I don't see there's any harm in it at all.
I said I think I have a dead body in my office.
That's what it felt like.
Can you dig it?
You don't get that in a multiplex.
Wow.
Nice.
So this is a Severin by, and it's a documentary about a theater in the UK called Scala. And it is fabulous. It is such an interesting film. The heart in this movie is huge. The love for film, the love for this particular theater and what it represented. It was directed by Ali Cartel, this only film, and Jane Giles, only film, because I believe they're involved with Scala at one point. Actors you may have sort of recognized that appear. Ralph Brown, who was in Stoker, Aliens 3, the British Life on Mars, the good Life on Mars. Right. 126 credits. Caroline Katz, who was in Doc Martin and In Fabrique, and of course, John Waters, who was a frequent displayer of films at this place. And more than 40 other people involved with the various aspects of the theater. The basic breakdown is the theater was a place that anybody could be whoever the hell they wanted to be. It was a 478-seat cinema. Wow. So it was big. It ran all the time. Occasionally, they did like a week-long thing or something like that of one or two movies. But basically, it was two different movies every night and an all-night marathon every Saturday. So hundreds and hundreds of movies. One of the movies baked on, speaking of books, one of the coolest things is when Severin offers books with their movies, I always get the books because they have been fantastic.
Wow.
So this is the entire run of the theater. Basically, it's got the calendar of every month and then talks about it the next day. So here you got November 1986.
That is gorgeous.
And then it just lists all of them throughout here.
Whoa.
And
can you tell the people who aren't watching what that is called?
is, I think it's the same name. Oh, no. Scala Club Cinema by Jane Giles. One
Very
of the
nice.
directors of this.
Boy, that is a beauty.
Wow.
Fantastic book.
Holy smokes.
And the effort that went into making this movie. It is just amazing. First and last film screened there was the original King Kong.
Wow.
They also did music performances and as such. Lou Reed and the Stooges, Iggy Pop fame, had their first London shows at the Scala while it was still a theater. It's now a live event room, sort of like our own Neptune Theater.
Right.
Very similar. John Waters attended a screening of one of his films and said it's the most fun he has ever had watching his movie with a crowd.
Oh.
Because the crowds were just crazy. Like one of the stories was some guy, they were watching another one of the weird extreme movies that they would show. And he would stand up every once in a while, yell at everybody in the theater, "How are you watching this film?" Sit down and continue to watch the movie. So it was full of all these weird, great stuff. Or flipping through there, one of the double bills that stood out for me was Zardoz and the Devils. Wow. Here's the top 10 movies they ever showed. The movies they showed most frequently: Eraserhead, Thundercrack, which I hadn't heard of, but is like gay porn almost, it sounds like. Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, Pink Flamingos, Magic Lantern Cycle, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, El Topo, Evil Dead, Cafe Flesh. And the movie that basically destroyed the theater was a screening of A Clockwork Orange. They screened it when it was not supposed to be shown in the UK.
Oh.
And I got to tell you, this disappointed me a little bit to learn, was kind of destroyed because Stanley Kubrick sued them for showing it.
Oh my God.
And won. The fee that came out of there basically was the nail in the coffin for the place.
Oh.
Like, Kubrick, come on, man. But this movie took 5 years to make. Funded by BFI, and actually did a Kickstarter that got another 25 grand. Let's see what else. There's also on the disc, the Severin disc has a 1990 documentary featuring many of the same people that appear in the new one, produced by one of the guys who is, I don't think he's director, but he's in it, and which is fascinating to watch, because as about 2 or 3 years before it went away, it was late 70s to like 92 or 93. And I tell you, you love films, you need to watch this. It is such a love letter to films. It's available, something called BFI Player. So I'm not familiar with that.
Oh,
but
okay. Yeah.
this is brand new. I mean, this was a Severin release in January. So it just came out. So I'm sure it'll start showing up around fairly soon, but highly, highly recommended.
Nice.
So where does the animation come in?
They talk a lot about the movies they show, and they show clips from it. So I snuck this in when a giant stop motion tentacle creature with eyes attacks the theater.
Fair.
All right.
There you go.
Hey, there's animated. Doing it. I mean, realistically, it's not that much longer than the amount of animation that's in Natural Born Killers. So there's not a lot in that.
I'm so excited about this. One of my favorite UK film reviewers, Mark Kermode, was obsessed with this movie. So
cool.
I didn't even realize it was available out here. So that's awesome. Yeah, you had a good time with it.
Yeah, and if they're still selling it with the book, highly recommended to just take that package. It's like a 3-disc set. It's the movie plus all the extras,
Yeah.
and then 2 discs of short films that they would show.
And that's from Severin?
It's Severin.
Oh, wow. I kind of mentioned this to you guys, but I actually used to live across the around the corner from the Scala. And I think I only ever went there once, and it was hazy, drunk Vanessa 20s. But they had a Metropolis themed night where there's 3 floors, I believe. And the top
3 tiers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the top tier had heaven, and then the middle was like the industrial, and then the lower bit was sort of like hell, and everybody was dressed in like gold and walking around like characters in the film. It was crazy.
What is the name of the There's a massive tube station right
King's
there.
Cross.
Yeah.
King's
Apparently
Cross.
you
St.
could
Pancras.
feel that in the theater.
Oh, I'm sure. I
When
could
it
feel it in
drove.
my because all those trains are right underneath, and the main station's right there, so they all kind of come closer to the ground, right in that. I mean, and it's on a busy intersection, so it would be noisy as fuck.
Yep.
Like that's incredible.
Is this the theater that you were talking about? Rats running over your feet?
No, that was Odeon Tottenham Court Road. No, I'm sure there were rats in the Scala too, absolutely. But
They
Odeon
had a cat.
Oh, did
They
it?
did have a cat that
See,
scared the
that's
crap
what-
out of people
That's what you need.
occasionally. Because they just walk through the theater while the movie's going on, and people don't know what it was.
in Prince Charles Theater in Leicester Square, they have ninjas. So they have their staff dress up as ninjas, and if somebody's like on their phone or disturbing or doing anything, they go in and like escort them out. Yeah, which
That's
is pretty
awesome.
Yes.
Amazing.
Sorry, was that the one with the rats?
No.
Okay,
No.
that's good because
No.
the ninjas got the rats.
It was an Odeon. It was
Odeon.
it was an Odeon. So it was a big theater chain, Tottenham Court Road. It was disgusting.
Well, guys, I think that there was a lot of confusion over this, but we ended up with a good, solid show.
Yeah, really good 3 solid liked
Next time I'll just go for like rain or
Did you say
sunshine.
rain?
You know, I'll keep it even more simple. Movies with using film.
Speaking of keeping things simple, I'm going to show you how to pick a subgenre.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to talk about movies with robots in them.
Whoa.
So
The master. The master's here, ladies and gentlemen.
will that exclude any kind of films?
Look, if you jump right to Star Wars movies, I'd probably be like,
Droids.
you could do a little better.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Right.
man.
I'm not the problem here. You don't have to look at me for this.
Somebody picked Rogue One for their movie.
That was ages ago. That was a long time ago.
We're talking about robots next week, you guys. That brings us to the part where we say thanks to everybody who's liking and sharing posts, who's out there on the Strange Eons Radio talk page on Facebook, and who's calling us on the Strange Eons Radio hotline, which is 253-237-4266. Especially,
Let me insert something about the calls too. You don't have to call. You can text. You can text us too.
Is that true?
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
if you're feeling you just don't want your voice used or whatever, or you're like me when you leave a voicemail, you go, "What the fuck was that crap I just said?"
Right.
Text it. We'll read those. We get text messages and stuff that are fun.
That's amazing. I can't wait to text the shit out of that line. And big thanks, of course, to everyone who's donating money. It's called Value for Value. If you get a little value out of this, which I assume you are, turn around and give a little value back. We can't tell you how much that is.
That's right. Yeah.
We don't know how much you got.
Today was 30 cents worth of value, but that episode last week, that was 25, man.
Also, some people are loaded and they want to give a lot of money, which is great.
That's fine.
And some people are struggling. And, if you want to give us $1,
yeah,
man, thanks.
Or
We
share it
appreciate
around. The shares are a lot more important than you might think. Or like you said, commenting on the YouTubes is really good. So thanks, Badger.
Also, big thanks to our buddy Micah, who is putting together some kind of list of all the movies that can be
it's so
seen by
exciting.
everybody.
He's taking the junky thing we used to use to make sure we don't talk about the same movie again and making it look really cool.
Right.
It's going to be great.
So how cool. And that's going to be available for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yes.
out there. If you want to check, we had talked about a movie, you'll be able to just look it up.
Yep.
Okay, guys, let's get out of here. I'm hungry. We're coming back in 7 short days. We're talking robots. See you next Thursday. Transportation and other considerations for Strange Eons Radio produced by Pan Am Airlines. When you think of traveling, think of Pan Am. You can't beat the experience. Guests of Strange Eons Radio stay at Econo Lodge Everett. It's an easy stop on the road, you know what we mean. Strange Eons Radio is recorded live in front of a studio audience. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a positive review on your favorite podcast app. Sit, Ubu, sit.
Especially horror comedy. Fuck, I hate so much horror comedy. Sorry.